Once upon a time, a king summoned his trusted minister and said, "Our palace is filled with intelligent and wise people. But for our moments of leisure, there should also be someone whose strange and foolish questions amuse us and bring laughter to the court." Obeying the king's command, the minister searched and appointed a man known for his foolish behavior. A formal ceremony was held, and the fool was crowned and given an official place in the royal court. From that day on, he entertained the king and the courtiers with his odd questions, playful remarks, and unexpected answers. His presence brought laughter, and the palace echoed with amusement. As time passed, the seasons changed, and eventually the king fell gravely ill. The finest doctors and most skilled physicians were summoned from far and wide, but despite their efforts, they lost all hope. Realizing that his final moments were near, the king grew restless and troubled. In an attempt to ease his pain and distract his mind from fear and sorrow, the king called for the fool and said, "Today you shall ask the questions, and I will answer." The fool stepped forward and bowed respectfully. He asked his first question, "Your Majesty, after death, where will you go?" The king replied calmly, "I will go to my lord." The fool then asked his second question, "And how long will you stay there, Your Majesty?" A faint smile appeared on the king's face as he answered, "Forever." The fool asked his third question, "Surely, Your Majesty, you must have made excellent arrangements there for your comfort, your stay, and your nourishment." At this, the king's smile faded. His face turned serious, and after a long pause, he replied softly, "No, I have made no arrangements at all." Hearing this, the fool slowly removed the crown of foolishness from his own head. He walked toward the king and gently placed it upon the king's head, saying, "Then, Your Majesty, you are more deserving of this crown than I am. You built a vast and powerful kingdom in a place where you were never meant to stay forever. Yet you made no preparations for the place where you will remain forever." The court fell silent. The words of the fool struck deeper than wisdom itself, leaving behind a lesson that echoed far beyond the palace walls. The king who tried to escape fate. Long ago, in a great Middle Eastern kingdom, there lived a powerful king known for his wealth and authority. One day, a fortune-teller was brought before him. After studying the stars, the fortune-teller grew pale and said, "O king, I see a dark test in your future. One day, you will desire to marry your own daughter." The king was horrified, enraged, and fearful. He ordered the fortune-teller to be silenced and swore that such a fate would never come true. When a daughter was later born to him, instead of protecting her, fear overtook his heart. He placed the infant in a wooden basket, sealed it carefully, and ordered it to be set upon the sea. Believing he had defeated destiny, the basket drifted across the waters until it reached a distant shore, where a poor but kind couple found it. Seeing the child alive, they took her in and raised her as their own. She grew into a woman known for her beauty, wisdom, and good character. Many years later, the king, now older, saw this woman during a visit to another land. Not knowing who she was, he became impressed by her grace and requested her hand in marriage. Before any union could take place, the truth was uncovered through a mark, a necklace, or a written note left in the basket years before. The king collapsed in grief. He realized that every cruel step he took to avoid the prophecy had led him directly toward it. His fear had caused him to abandon his duty, and his actions had nearly brought about the very evil he wished to escape. The story ends with a powerful lesson. When people act out of fear and arrogance, they create their own destruction. Fate is not defeated by injustice, and true wisdom lies in trust, responsibility, and moral courage. Long before our time, long before modern cities and technology, there lived an ancient nation known as the people Afad. They came after the time of Noah, and were among the strongest and most powerful people ever to walk the earth. God blessed them with strength, long lives, fertile land, rain, livestock, and wealth. They were not weak or struggling people. They were a mighty civilization that had everything needed to thrive. The people Afad were famous for their enormous bodies and great height. Ancient descriptions speak of them as being as tall as palm trees, with physical strength far beyond what humans possess today. Tasks that would require machines and large teams in our time could be done by them with their own hands. They lived in a region known as Akef, a land of sand dunes, yet during their time it was a place of comfort and prosperity. They carved massive homes from stone, built strong cities, and raised structures that seemed impossible to destroy. As time passed, their blessings turned into pride. They admired their bodies, trusted their strength, and believed their cities would last forever. Slowly, gratitude disappeared from their hearts and arrogance took its place. They began to believe that their power came from themselves, not from God. Among themselves, they would say, "Who is stronger than us?" In their minds, no force in the world could challenge them. Out of mercy, God sent them a messenger from among their own people to warn them. He reminded them that strength is a gift, not a guarantee, and that power is not proof of righteousness. He called them to humility, justice, and obedience to God. He warned them that pride and oppression lead only to destruction. But instead of listening, they mocked him. They called him weak and dismissed his warnings, trusting in their muscles, their wealth, and their buildings rather than in God. Then the signs began to appear. The sky darkened, and clouds gathered on the horizon. The people Afad rejoiced, thinking rain was coming and their comfort would increase. But what arrived was not mercy. A powerful, freezing wind began to blow, stronger than anything they had ever experienced. At first, they did not take it seriously, but the wind did not stop. It continued day after day and night after night, growing more violent with time. The same people who once boasted of their strength were now helpless. Their massive bodies were lifted and thrown to the ground like dry leaves. Their stone houses collapsed, and their proud cities were torn apart. The wind lasted for days, until nothing remained but empty land and silence. A civilization that believed it was untouchable was erased, as if it had never existed. History has repeated this lesson many times. Nations rise, become arrogant, and then fall, empires with armies. Wealth and power disappear, leaving only ruins and stories behind. The fate of the people Afad stands as a clear warning to all who come after them. Now we must turn our attention to ourselves. Compared to them, our strength is small. Our bodies are fragile, and our lives are short. Yet pride still finds its way into human hearts. A little money, a good job, a nice car, or a large house is enough for people to forget God and look down on others. We begin to believe that we are secure, forgetting how quickly everything can be taken away. The story of the people Afad is not just an ancient history lesson. It is a mirror for every generation. It reminds us that power without humility leads to destruction, that faith without obedience is empty, and that pride always comes before a fall. Everything we have is temporary, and true safety lies only in humility, gratitude, and remembrance of God. Abu Sa'id Abul-Kar was a renowned Persian Sufi teacher who lived in the 10th, 11th century in the region of present-day Iran. He was not known for miracles, supernatural powers, or dramatic displays of spirituality. Instead, people remembered him for his deep wisdom, humility, and insistence that true spiritual excellence appears in everyday behavior. Those who came to him often expected stories of extraordinary feats, but he redirected them toward the ordinary acts that shape a person's character. On one occasion, a man said to him, "What an extraordinary person he must be who can fly through the air." Abu Sa'id replied calmly that this was nothing remarkable, since even a fly can do that. The man then asked about someone who could walk on water. Abu Sa'id answered that this too was not special, because even a piece of wood can float. When the man finally asked what true excellence really was, Abu Sa'id explained that real greatness lies in living among people without causing them harm. He said that a person should guard their tongue, never lie, never mock others, and never take unfair advantage of anyone. This, he said, is true excellence. He went on to explain that it is not necessary to tolerate every wrong habit or action, but it is enough not to form negative assumptions about people. It is not required to please everyone, but it is enough not to hurt them. It is not necessary to correct others, but it is enough to focus on one's own faults. He concluded that it is not even necessary for people to love one another. It is enough that they are not enemies. To live peacefully with others, he taught, is the highest form of excellence. On another occasion, a man came to Abu Sa'id proudly describing his long prayers, frequent fasting, and strict worship. Abu Sa'id listened quietly and then asked him how he treated people. When the man admitted that he often argued, judged others, and spoke harshly, Abu Sa'id gently explained that worship which does not soften the heart has not yet reached its purpose. Acts of devotion, he said, are meant to produce patience, humility, and kindness, otherwise they remain empty movements. In another story, someone asked Abu Sa'id how to recognize a truly spiritual person. Instead of describing special clothing, public piety, or miracles, he replied that a real person of wisdom is one from whom people feel safe. Safe from harm, safe from arrogance, and safe from sharp words. If people feel peace in your presence, he said, then your inner state is sound. It is also said that a wealthy man once asked Abu Sa'id how he could become closer to God. Abu Sa'id explained that wealth itself was not the problem. A poor person could be greedy, and a wealthy person could be generous. What mattered was attachment. If possessions controlled the heart, they became a barrier. If they remained only in the hand, they became a means of good. In another narration, a student complained to Abu Sa'id about being insulted and disrespected by others. Abu Sa'id replied that the world behaves like a mirror. Anger reflects anger, and calm reflects calm. He advised the student to respond with patience and dignity, explaining that silence, when chosen wisely, often defeats hostility more effectively than argument. Someone once asked Abu Sa'id whether it was better to live in isolation or among people. He replied that living among people is harder, but more valuable. Patience, forgiveness, and self-control can only be practiced when others are present. Isolation may protect a person from conflict, but it also protects them from growth. In another account, Abu Sa'id was asked what destroys spirituality the fastest. He answered that self-admiration is the most dangerous enemy. When a person begins to admire their own worship, knowledge, or goodness, they stop improving. Humility, he taught, keeps the heart alive.